Despite the Nintendo Switch 2 not even being out yet, and potentially this game coming over, if there ever was an RPG that absolutely needs a Nintendo Switch 2 port, it is this game that we're going to talk about, and that is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I have put, I think, around 8 to 10 hours in, mainly just grinding through, leveling up, soaking in the scenery, looking through everything, and giving you guys a non-spoiler impressions of this game. And I have to sit here and say I am blown away, especially considering this game is made by like 30 developers. It's essentially an indie game that got some big backing. It's got a Game Pass deal as well. It's on PC, it's on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and it's only $50, as they understand that, yeah, people don't necessarily buy turn-based RPGs like they do maybe action RPGs like The Witcher or like Skyrim or something like that. So I think that they tried to give themselves a little bit of a goodwill with gamers out there. And from what we're seeing right now, they did announce that the game has sold over 500,000 units so far, and it's on Game Pass. So yeah, that's definitely not bad. But there's a lot of PlayStation 5 owners out there, a lot of PC owners out there that are definitely sleeping on this game. And I think that if it came to the Nintendo Switch 2 sometime this year in 2025, it could get a fresh look from people that love RPGs. Nintendo fans usually buy RPGs, obviously Pokemon, Xenoblade, Shin Megami Tensei, those have all done really well. Persona on Nintendo Switch 1. So I do think that this game would be a key and great game and needs to come over to give the Expedition team some more love. Now, what makes Expedition 33 so good? Let's start off with the graphics. Graphics are just one thing, they're one component, but the graphics in this game, Unreal Engine 5 title, looks really nice and sparkly if you've got an OLED TV. It looks better than a lot of the current gen RPGs. It's got a cool French and JRPG looking design world. It's kind of hard to explain, but once you get into some of the environments, you see exactly what's going on here. Nice fantasy blend, but with a realistic design. I really like the graphics in the game, although I had to make sure that you turn down the gamma, turn down the brightness a little bit. You got to adjust based on your TV, and I had to take it off the quality mode. The quality mode just makes everything way too sharp. Looks like it's going to cut your eyes. So once I put it to performance, because I usually play games on performance anyway, but for some reason it didn't register the first time, and I adjusted everything, the graphics in the game look beautiful, and it looks great on my 50+ inch OLED TV. Next up, the presentation. This is really, really good on this game. The voice acting is absolutely incredible. The characters nail their lines, very believable, very, I would say, just like stand up to the situation. Like, it is really in tune with like a movie, for example. Very good voice acting. The motion tech on the faces or whatever they use for lip syncing and all that is really good. Facial expressions all fit the scene and what's happening. No blank stares or looks. I absolutely love the voice acting in the game, and of course how they modeled each of the characters. They feel alive, they feel believable, and with the presentation, all of the fonts and the UI are really clean and easy to read, plus there's customizable options with that. And the interface is easy to use after a little bit of trial and error. Sometimes you don't know where you're starting off at, but then you kind of understand, okay, here's where I am and what's going on. Also, the music. This is what always scares me when it comes to Western RPGs. And this game is trying to emulate a Japanese RPG with a few different things that Western developers kind of do with the graphical mix and stuff like that. And I am incredibly happy to report that the music in this game will make all of us JRPG fans very, very happy. It's not the typical movie type music soundtrack that a lot of Western RPGs have that just kind of all sounds similar. It feels right at home with Final Fantasy, fits right at home with some of the best RPGs out there, and I really like what they've done with the music. The battle theme is really good. It's awesome, and it ramps up. If you know anything about battle themes, you know that it has to kind of start out a little bit, okay, and then it ramps up as the battle goes on, hits the climax, and kind of loops, and this battle theme absolutely does that. So it is very good, and I'm very excited to hear more of the boss themes and other stuff. But I'm also excited to hear about all the new subscribers that we're going to get by people hitting that subscribe button if you're enjoying the content. So hit that sub button if you're not subscribed, hit that like button, and click that notification bell to get my vids as soon as they drop, as we got way more Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more coming to the channel. Okay, we've talked about the music, we've talked about the presentation, we've talked about the graphics, but the most important thing in any RPG is, of course, the story, which the story's really good. I just don't want to actually have any type of spoilers or anything like that with the story, but the story is awesome. This expedition team getting wiped away by the Paintress every single time each year that goes by. You have to go there and try to stop them. The twists and turns and the tech that they build to try to go there and stop this lady and what they do along the way. I am loving the story. Still kind of early on, but it's really, really good so far. So I won't say anything more. Once again, I don't want any type of spoilers as this is an early impressions video. But the other thing that's also really important, obviously the gameplay. This is where this game absolutely shines its brightest. This is one of the best turn-based RPG combat systems that I've played in my early impressions. It's easy to pick up and play, and it's hard to master. I want to talk about the parry timing. The parrying timing is really interesting in this game because it gives you two options on defense. You can dodge out of the way, you can do a regular dodge, and then you can also get a perfect dodge, which can give you some benefits like getting an extra notch for you to be able to use a gun or a skill. So that's definitely good if you have a certain ability enabled. But then the parrying timing is really weird because sometimes enemies attack really slowly, sometimes enemies attack quickly, sometimes they attack the whole team, sometimes the timing of when you're actually supposed to press the parry button feels off. I've seen people say on Twitter that, oh, well, you have to do it right as they attack you, but then sometimes it doesn't feel that way. So the parry timing definitely feels a bit weird, but once you get the hang of it, you can string a couple together, but it all kind of just resets when you fight different enemies. So you're going to be constantly on your toes if you want to get a parry, because if you get a perfect parry, you can do a powerful counterattack that can actually turn the tide of tough battles. So I do like that the timing is very small because you don't want to have it to where it's super easy. You want a nice risk and reward. And if you want to just get away with being able to dodge the attack, then obviously using the dodge button would be that. But once again, you can't do that powerful counter when it comes down to it. So I do like the fact that the timing is a little, I would say the window's really tight on that overall, but it's a good thing because it's going to make you consistently practice, and that's what I've been doing. I've been leveling up and practicing, and I'm still not quite there yet. So I do like that, but it feels awesome when you pull off the parries. The combat is stylish and it's fun. It's fun in turn-based combat to slash people up, to hit them with ice beams, to hit them with your different attacks. It feels so great. The people that made this game, you can tell that they're a fan of anime. They're a fan of other RPGs. They're a huge fan of JRPGs. The attacks feel so cool to pull off. Sometimes I feel with one of the characters, I think her name is Lune or Loon, however you say it, she's like a sorceress, and I feel like I'm the first Hokage with Mokutone, just hitting people with this powerful earth magic overall. The main character, Gustav, definitely Sasuke, hitting people with the Chidori. So it's really, really nice what they've been able to do with this game, and I'm very excited to consistently go into every single battle and do different types of attacks or try out different types of combos or different things that you can do with the different magic and different combat options that you do have. So like it very much. The sound effects whenever you start a battle, whenever you're hitting them with certain attacks, it's satisfying. It adds to the impact of the blows, really feels powerful or strong. And even doing the little combat timing with certain attacks, to where if you get it to where it's perfect, it actually gives you more damage, or you can heal more HP. So there's a nice little mini game even with certain major attacks that you do have, certain skills that you equip to your characters. So that feels very satisfying and fun to play as well. Each character feels different, has a different style of skill tree. They'll have different strengths and weaknesses, and it's up to you to mix and match the different skills that they have that work well together in the expedition. So I'm really loving how each character plays and how different they feel from one character to another. the Pictos, if I'm saying it right, or however you say it. These are the abilities or skills that you get. They're customizable. You earn a lot of them. You can mix and match and even master them. And then once you've mastered them, anybody can learn them if they have enough Luminos or whoever it's called. I'm still at the beginning of the game, guys. I'm still learning every single thing. But yeah, it's a nice system. That's what I'm trying to say overall. The combat and how they put together everything when it comes to your skills, your abilities, your magic, the different types of major attacks that you can do, and each character's gimmick of what makes them good or weak in certain things is awesome. They've done a great job with it, and I constantly want to mix and match and try out new things. Now, if there is one nitpick when it comes to this game so far, is that getting into a battle takes a little bit of time. Like, I wish it was faster and more seamless, but that is a incredibly small nitpick when it comes to everything else that I've talked about here. Now, this is still an indie game at the end of the day, so there are some things that aren't as nice as maybe some of the biggest JRPGs out there like Final Fantasy or some of the other stuff, but overall, considering the team size and everything, this is super high quality. If you didn't know the team size was small, you would think this was a huge AAA type of game. Now, why does this need to come to the Nintendo Switch 2, and why would Nintendo fans in particular like this? Well, obviously, JRPGs are something that have done well on Nintendo systems in the past, but if you're into Paper Mario, people talk about Final Fantasy. Yes, definitely there's some Final Fantasy 8 in this game. There's some Final Fantasy 10, absolutely Legend of Dragoon, Lost Odyssey. There's definitely some DNA from a lot of these games. Persona, all of the best turn-based RPGs, but man, Paper Mario is a game that I feel that it's very much like, because you have offensive and defensive time-sensitive buttons that you have to press depending on the attack. So it very much feels like when you parry. Same thing with the Super Guard in Paper Mario, the Thousand-Year Door, or even doing different special attacks, having to time the button presses right as you do them, just like Paper Mario. So to me, if you're a Paper Mario fan and love the timing-based combat, this game, Expedition 33, is for you. I think it actually feels pretty similar in some ways. Now, obviously, it's not the exact same, and stylistically, when it comes to the looks of the game, overall aesthetics, completely different in terms of how you go about it, the structure and everything. But combat-wise, there's some similarities, and there's definitely some things that transfer over. So yeah, if you're a Paper Mario fan, you might want to check this one out, and why I think it would be a great reveal for the Nintendo Switch 2. Plus, portable play, turn-based RPGs just kind of go hand in hand overall. If you don't have a PlayStation Portal, or if you don't want to tinker around with the Steam Deck and everything, I think that a Nintendo Switch 2 version would be great on that nice screen, 1080p overall. You have the DLSS, you can get it running good on the Nintendo Switch 2 as well with Unreal Engine 5, which is supported on the system. And in the PlayStation 5 version specifically, because the game is on Xbox and on PC, but on PS5, it's got really good haptic support for the controller. It doesn't overdo it, but then again, it's not too light. It's a pretty good mix overall. With HD Rumble 2, I think you can have a similar type of experience, as the HD Rumble has been upgraded from the Nintendo Switch 1 version of the game. So having HD Rumble 2 on there with that screen, portable play and everything, I think that would be incredible, and people would pick this game up. Now, I'm not worried about the sales right now at this point. I think that since they did announce 500,000 copies sold with that Game Pass deal, I think that they're pretty much already going to be profitable when it comes down to it. They did take less, right, doing the $50, so they're not making as much as they would make if it was $60 or $70. However, they do have a smaller team size, so the cost of the game was significantly lower than a huge, massive AAA RPG. It's 30 hours to play through the game, according to them, and it's 60 hours if you want to do everything. Now, me, I'm crazy, so I'm probably going to spend about 90 to 100 hours in this game, leveling all the way up and trying to fight every single boss and do everything, because littered throughout the world, there are incredibly tough bosses that will be above your level, and you have to kind of grind to get to that level to be able to take them down, or essentially be perfect and block and dodge everything and somehow get through the battle, which you can do if you want to, but you're in for a very long battle if you don't go actually level up and everything. So I'm really enjoying the game. I think it's really good. I'm having a blast playing through, and I'm hoping and I'm thinking that this RPG is going to head to the Nintendo Switch 2 at some point. I think it needs to be there. I think it'd feel right at home on the Nintendo Switch 2, but we're going to have to wait and see. I think the developers would like to get it on the system just because it's going to be a very popular system, and it can get them in Japan as well. They can heavily market it as a Final Fantasy type of game and kind of see if people in Japan on Nintendo Switch 2 would pick it up, because that system is going to take over when it launches this June. They have a huge queue for that system, so I know that people are going to be playing games like crazy on there. So I'm hoping that Nintendo and of course the Clair Obscur team can actually work something out and get that done on a full actual cartridge, not a game key card, although I'd be okay with just getting it digital if they're going to do that. But yes, on a full cartridge. The game is around 40 gigabytes or so on the PlayStation 5, so it would need to be a 64 gigabyte cartridge, and obviously Indie Studio probably don't have that type of money to go for a 64 gigabyte cartridge. Not a huge studio, but once again, we'll have to wait and see. We're getting ahead of ourselves. We need to get the announcement first, and of course the Nintendo Switch 2 needs to actually launch as well. So what do you guys think about my first impressions of Clair Obscur Expedition 33? Would you guys like to play this on the Nintendo Switch 2? Are you playing it on the PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series or PC? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.